Hello there, you are watching WION and this is our show Inside South Asia with me, Dasuni Athauda. Now this is a show where we talk about the top and trending stories that took place in the region this week and discuss how it impacts your life. Here's what's coming up. This week marks a year since the Shehbaz Sharif government took over in Pakistan. Looking back, it has been one of unprecedented power filled with institutional fluxes and fissures. Looking ahead, an election looms with an undeniable cloud of martial law set to set in. Here's more.
Midnight of the 10th of April 2022 and a storm in the Pakistan National Assembly. 2 days into then PM Imran Khan's party blocking a no-confidence motion, it is pushed through. Imran is voted out with 174 votes against him as his party stages a walkout. The new man at the helm is Shehbaz Sharif, in office for 15 months before elections are due. The multi-party alliance he heads inherits an economic and governance climate on the brink. 1 year on, Sharif finds cause for pride in claims that Pakistan has managed to stay afloat, despite his country's economy being in tailspin mode like never before. It's one of the highlights of the last year of his prime ministership.
Shehbaz Sharif's government can do cosmetic things, but even they are backfiring. For example, during the month of Ramadan, Shehbaz Sharif's government offered to the common people who, many of them have become so poor that they cannot afford the essential food items, to buy food items from the market. So they're giving free flour or atta to the people. But even as they give free flour to the people, there are stampedes and people are still dying in those stampedes because it simply does not add up. The inflation and the loss of earnings for the common man versus how difficult it is for the Pakistani government itself to sustain the common man and also pay for huge expenses that are coming up.
Boil it down to a multifold existential crisis Pakistan stares at today. Top of the heap, the mega economic mess. With a debt load of $77 billion, Pakistan stares at default. A $1.1 billion IMF bailout that could lead to more remains distant. Consumer inflation has raced to 35.4% in March, the highest annual rise in prices on record. The reading was at 12.7% in March last year. Prices of food, fuel, electricity skyrocket. Flour wars on the streets have made headlines.
महंगाई तो तेज हो रही है, कोई कंट्रोल नहीं कर रहे. गरीब आदमी, किराएदार आदमी, रेडी ठेले वाला सब मजबूर हो गया.
अब महंगाई का आपको पता है क्या आलम है, आटा कहाँ पे पहुँच गया है. लोग लाइनों में लगे हैं, आटा मिल नहीं रहा.
And economy woes are just one end of it. There are deep divides in the judiciary and politicization of the body. The latest row being over the dates for elections to state assemblies in Punjab and Khyber Pakhtunkhwa provinces. At the heart of that fight and more remains former Prime Minister Imran Khan pushing for early polls. Court cases against Khan, which he terms a witch hunt, have turned into pitched street battles between his supporters and police. How much of Shehbaz Sharif's energies are diverted here? Has governance become secondary?
Judges are saying that Pakistani government has to, under all circumstances, within less than a month, hold general elections in Pakistan. Whereas Pakistan's finance minister and the government simply does not have the funds. the security backing from the military or the police. Both organizations have said we cannot provide you security. So Pakistan currently is unable to hold general provincial elections, and subsequently general elections within the country. We're having problems feeding our people. So all these problems are not going to be very good for Shehbaz Sharif.
Big challenges lie ahead for Sharif and co. General elections are due in Pakistan later this year. A minister, Bilawal Bhutto, recently raised the spectre of martial law. Perhaps the biggest challenge will be ensuring that the country doesn't go down that road again.
Now let's take a look at China's growing influence here in the region. From Sri Lanka's Belt and Road Initiative to Bangladesh's investment projects, it is evident that China is branching out to make sure that their prominence is seen here in the region. For this, China has now come up with a new security architecture known as GSI, also as the Global Security Initiative. But are there any takers in South Asia who are now wary of China's debt influence? Here's more.
The foreign secretaries of China and Nepal meeting in Beijing ostensibly to discuss China's ongoing projects in the Himalayan state. This after Nepal showed little or no interest in getting on board China's ambitious Belt and Road Initiative or the Global Security Initiative. A statement after the meeting only suggested that China had promised to export Nepali products to Beijing and support its development. There was no mention of the BRI. It seems South Asia is getting wary of China's aggressive debt trap development and China's Belt and Road Initiative, strategically located at the intersection of the traditional Silk Road and the 21st century maritime route.
Some people are attempting to hype up the so-called debt trap and slander China by accusing China of making opaque loans. We firmly reject the accusation. China has always been committed to supporting the economic and social development of developing countries.
Now let's look at what's the pattern of investment in Nepal. China is helping Nepal build roads, railways, highways, tunnels and dams. Most of these projects are for the $2.75 billion Trans-Himalayan Multi-Dimensional Connectivity project. But most of these projects are concentrated in northern Nepal, close to the Tibet Autonomous Region, to expand its strategic presence in an area close to India. China has given $15 billion assistance for projects to Nepal. So have these South Asian nations prospered due to China's investment and money? While China holds considerable economic leverage over these countries, its ongoing projects, commercial lending, opaque negotiations and debt trap investments are only putting these nations in a vicious cycle of economic dependence. China's all-weather friend Pakistan owes China over $30 billion in debt, that is 30% of all its external debt. Beijing's assistance has failed to uplift Pakistan's economy, generate revenue, and more loans worth $2 billion have only meant more dependency. China has delayed crucial projects in Pakistan like the Karachi Rail project, the Azad Patan Hydro project, and the Thar Coal project. There is also widespread local backlash to Chinese projects in Balochistan, as it has caused displacement of local residents. Sri Lanka and Pakistan are both going through one of the worst economic crises, and the common denominator is China. Strategically located at the midpoint of shipping lanes that connect China to the Middle East, Beijing has made significant investments in Sri Lanka. Sri Lanka owes more than $8 billion in debt to China. In 2002, Sri Lanka began making the Hambantota port with a loan of $1.1 billion. Once the island nation defaulted on the loan, China took control of the port in 2017. In 2022, when Lanka entered a severe debt crisis, exacerbated by loans, it had to finally ask for an IMF bailout, and it's not clear if loans from China have been restructured. A similar situation in Bangladesh, which has an external debt of $72 billion, of which $5 billion is owed to China. Not a large sum, But China has growing investments in all its sectors such as energy, physical infrastructure, railway connectivity projects, which has led to the country calling for a more cautious approach recently. The Bangladesh Prime Minister Sheikh Hasina highlighting that Dhaka was not dependent on any particular country. In South Asia, China wants to expand its influence, secure maritime positions, infiltrate economies. But is its string of pearls policies beginning to unravel? Are countries looking the other way, wanting to slow down their debt dependence? Recent developments seem to suggest so.
India is all set to receive Asia's longest high-altitude tunnel by 2026. Do you know where it is located? Here's more.
An engineering marvel 11,575 feet up in the Himalayas, enabling all-weather connectivity on the Srinagar-Kargil-Leh National Highway. This is Zojila Tunnel. Boasting a length of 14.15 kilometers, it's Asia's longest bi-directional tunnel. Once open, Zojila will replace the Athauda Tunnel as the longest at the highest altitude. The 9-kilometer Athauda Tunnel, located in the Indian state of Himachal Pradesh, is at present the highest single-tube highway tunnel above 10,000 feet anywhere in the world. Work has been stepped up at the Zojila Tunnel site. Close to 40% is ready and an opening is targeted for the end of this year. Indian Road Transport and Highways Minister Nitin Gadkari reviewed the work underway. Take a look at this map. The distance from Baltal to Minamarg is 40 kilometers as we know it. This will come down to 13 kilometers via the Zojila Tunnel. Travel time will be cut in half. It's being said that the Indian Armed Forces will be able to use this marvel from next year.
We are building 4 major bridges and total tunneling is 19 kilometer. 5 kilometer tunneling which has already been completed between Sonamarg and this place, and main Zojila tunnel starts from here, which is 13 kilometer long. So Zojila main tunnel from this side we advanced 3 kilometer. From Ladakh side also we are deep in 3 kilometer. We are working at very good speed.
Typically, peak winters mean Ladakh being cut off from the rest of the country. Heaps of snow engulf the Zojila while major landslides leave the region disconnected. Here too, this tunnel will prove to be a game changer. It will enable connectivity between the two union territories through all 365 days and will cut costs sharply. Experts say 500 to 600 crore rupees, that's equivalent to some $61 million, are spent on transportation during winters. The Zojila Tunnel will mean $61 million saved.
We are spending more than 600 crores to supply our defense forces and people of Ladakh. So 500 to 600 rupees will be direct saving. Then there will be saving in fuel because travel time will be cut from 3 hours to 20 minutes. So I can say that thousands of crores of rupees will be saved on account of fuel.
Zojila will be one of the many of Jammu and Kashmir's engineering wonders. The Chenab Railway Bridge, the world's highest, is another one. It runs at a height of 359 meters above the river Chenab between Bakal and Kauri. This one is the longest road tunnel in India. The Chenani Nashri Tunnel, also called Dr. Syama Prasad Mukherjee Tunnel. Connecting Jammu and Kashmir, it was the first tunnel with a fully integrated tunnel control system. Zojila Tunnel's full opening scheduled for 2026 will be a huge landmark. Being an attraction in the region is just one end of it. A bigger feather will be as among the region's biggest engineering marvels.
Let's now take a look at a few other stories that made headlines in the region this week.
Another shocker from Afghanistan. Now restaurants with gardens or green spaces in the country's Herat province will be no-go zones for women and their families. Taliban religious clerics complained about mixing genders in such places. Before this, the Taliban had shut secondary schools for girls and women and restricted their employment opportunities. Taliban authorities have imposed an austere interpretation of Islam since storming to power in August 2021 after the withdrawal of US-led foreign forces that backed the previous government. Get set to travel underwater, and that too in a metro. India is all set for its first underwater metro train with a tunnel made under the bed of the river Hooghly. In the trial run, a metro train completed a journey through a tunnel from Mahakaran to Howrah Maidan, 32 meters below water level. The Howrah metro station will be 33 meters deep, making it the deepest station in the country. This segment is expected to be open for commercial services later this year. Sri Lanka's election body has postponed the local body polls indefinitely. The reason cited, an acute shortage of funds. Elections were originally slated for the 25th of April, but President Wickramasinghe's administration refused to finance them, saying the money was needed to pay for salaries and pensions. The polls, the first electoral test for President Wickramasinghe since he took office, were to pick local councillors. The polls are widely seen as a referendum on unpopular austerity measures implemented to satisfy the terms of an International Monetary Fund bailout. This has included a doubling of income taxes and a sharp rise in energy tariffs.
The impact of Pakistan's acute economic crisis is not only felt by its people, but also by the animals living in Pakistan. This is a story about the poor living conditions of animals at a Karachi Zoo.
This is Karachi Zoo. The crowd that you see that has assembled at one of its cages is not for any new attraction, but for a sick elephant, Noor Jahan. A 17-year-old pachyderm, she was brought to Pakistan from Tanzania more than a decade ago. She lives with her sister Madhubala in a cage that does not allow for enough mobility. The two elephants also have a small open space for playing and bathing. Videos of Noor Jahan with her head against a tree and struggling to stand had gone viral, prompting a team of veterinarians and wildlife experts from an animal welfare organization to rush to rescue the African elephant. The veterinarians from Austria and Egypt revealed that Noor Jahan suffered from arthritis, among other health issues, leaving her distressed.
Problem with the joint, with arthritis. She have swelling in the genital part. This could be oedeme. She can barely move. We see skin spots, could be a fungal or parasite infection on her skin.
Experts say Noor Jahan's injury could have been the result of an accident or a fight or collision between the elephants. But with timely action, there was hope. After she received treatment, the 3.5-ton elephant was able to stand up with the help of a crane.
Today, the team of 4 POs, together with the zoo doctors, we were able to, I will say, to complete a complex procedure. It was very risky procedure for Noor Jahan. We nearly lost Noor Jahan when we gave the sedation. We were lucky with all the previous preparation. Noor Jahan stand up again. We complete the procedure. The good news, we know what Noor Jahan have.
This is not her first surgery. Jahan, along with Madhubala, underwent medical procedures, including a major tusk surgery last year. Examinations had proved that despite trauma, kidney malfunction and several other ailments, the chances of the elephant's survival were bright.
So I think it is coming days are hard. Noor Jahan have a fair chance. Yesterday I mentioned it's 50-50. Today I was emotional, but now I can feel I am more optimistic and there is a chance for Noor Jahan to live more years in a better place, in a species appropriate place, where the people of Pakistan deserve to see the elephant in better condition, not in a bad condition.
The zoo's authorities have decided to move her to a better place in the future. However, Safari Park authorities said some major changes would be needed to be made at the facility in order to accommodate these elephants. Pakistan's zoos are frequently criticized for disregarding animal welfare, and in 2020 a court ordered the only zoo in the country's capital to shut because of its decrepit state. The zoo drew international condemnation for its treatment of an Asian elephant named Kavan. Kavan was gifted by the government of Sri Lanka to Pakistan in 1985. He remained at the Islamabad Zoo until November of 2020 and was later airlifted to retirement in a Cambodian sanctuary. Last year, a zoo in the eastern city of Lahore called off plans to auction 12 lions to private individuals after overbreeding, saying it would instead create new enclosures for the big cats. With the latest episode of Noor Jahan, the well-being and living conditions of the animals in Pakistan have again come into the spotlight. For now, the ailing elephant is being monitored. All that we can hope for is a better future for her in the coming days.
And that's a wrap of this edition of Inside South Asia. Before we leave, here's a look at a unique festival that took place in Nepal. For the WION team, I'm Dasuni Athauda. Thank you for watching.